And welcome into Getting Help from Uncle Sam. When you look at different offices that there are in the state, you look at governor, lieutenant governor, there's an office called Attorney General. And most people say, Attorney General, what's his job? Well, he is the chief law enforcement officer for the state of Alabama. And today we're very privileged to have with us Steve Marshall, who is the Attorney General for the state of Alabama.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for joining us. You've been in the job, what now, for about...
Since February of last year.
February last year.
A little over a year and a few months.
That's good.
Been a remarkable blessing, somebody that's been a prosecutor for 20 years of my professional life. This is very much a transition that I feel very comfortable with. When you talk about this idea of being the chief law enforcement officer, it means that every day I get to work with the men and women who protect us and who sacrifice for us. And so, remarkable privilege for me.
Absolutely. And when you're looking at seniors, which obviously is the big part of our show, your office has done a lot to take care of not only the rights, but some of the things that happen to seniors.
Yeah, we have two divisions that really are directly involved in issues involving seniors in Alabama, one of which is our Consumer Protection Division. Right. We have consumer specialists that receive complaints, those that are having problems and need some help and advice. And over 90% of those complaints relating to targeted scams come from seniors. And so clearly we know that those who would prey upon people look at seniors as a target. And so one of the things that we try to do is not only to help individuals when they have run into problems, but also to be able to educate seniors about what to look for. That old phrase about if it's too good to be true, it really does matter.
It really does,
and so
absolutely.
we need to create a little healthy skepticism among many about kind of what they're hearing and what they're seeing, because there's a variety of scams that are out there. And then also we have a Medicaid fraud unit that's looking to see those that would prey upon seniors in nursing home and other places. And so very much for us is an important role, and very appreciative of those that work at our office who care and are concerned about senior issues.
So if a viewer feels that something's happening, then they can contact your office.
They can contact our office directly. That number is 334-242-7300. Can ask for a consumer specialist. And one of the things that they'll do is try to walk them through the complaint and then to see where it is that we can help. Because one of the most difficult things for anybody, let alone a senior, to deal with is when your identity is stolen. It's why we encourage people to make sure that, number one, you're not giving out your personal identifying information, your social security numbers, bank account information, those kind of things. But also that we got to be vigilant in checking our credit report. You have the ability to get that free credit report. Most folks think you only do it once a year. We actually do it 3 times a year because you can do each of the different credit bureaus. And so we definitely send people to annualcreditreport.com to be able to pull your information, because when the bad guys get it, that's when there's much trouble for folks trying to restore that credit history and the credit rating that people have worked so hard to obtain.
When you talk about the bad guys, what are the biggest problems you're facing in your office right now?
I think the biggest issue that I hear around the state is the loss of life from opioids. Those that are taking these drugs and losing lives. It's very different than anything else that we've seen in this country, because we've had drug problems, we know that. Crack cocaine, crystal meth, those things. But it is the rise of opioid addiction, heroin, fentanyl, when we know that the last 2 years the average life expectancy in the United States has gone down. We're the most wealthy country in the world, have access to great medical care, but yet when we see that happening, it's directly attributable to this issue. So that is something that we continue to work on, and is very much a passion for me personally. But also, we continue to have the responsibility to make sure that we enforce our ethics laws in the state so that people can have faith and trust in those who serve, to know that they're being well served, and those who violate that trust, then it's our obligation to make sure that we hold them accountable.
And that goes across
They
the
need you in
board.
Washington.
I'm happy in Montgomery.
Amen.
But that's not Republican or Democrat particular. That is like just what is right and what is wrong.
It is. And that's, we talked about the role of an Attorney General. Attorney General is supposed to be a balls and strikes person. Doesn't look to who you are, where you're from, what party you may be. We're there to enforce the law. It's really why, my training as a prosecutor really sort of reinforced that, is that people need to know that the rule of law applies, that the way that we make sure that we have order in society is to evenly apply the law across all spectrums. And when we do that fairly and appropriately, it gives people confidence in the justice system.
Well, I think what's so great too is sometimes you see things, just the can gets kicked down the road. And what I have loved about watching you is that when something comes up, you tackle it. You don't shift it off to somewhere else or somebody else. You actually say, okay, here's what we've got, and you move forward with it.
Well, I appreciate you saying, there's a book written by a pastor named Andy Stanley called Principle of the Path. And that it's a simple statement, and it is simply that your direction is determined by your destination is determined by your direction, not your intention. And so that literally to show leadership, you have to move. And so it's one thing to talk about addressing problems.
Amen.
But it's more importantly to be able to do something about it. And I think that's what you ought to see from an attorney general as well as other public officials.
And probably the frustration part comes when you attack the problem, then it gets hung up in the judicial process.
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah.
But we need to make sure that we're the advocates for those that we
Right.
represent.
And you can get
It's
it
why,
moving.
one reason why that Fair Justice Act that we passed last year was so important, dealing with capital cases or those who are subject to the death penalty, is that for those victims, many times they feel like their voices aren't heard. And when there's somebody like Tommy Arthur that many call the Houdini of death row, 8 different times it was stopped.
Yeah.
Right.
He committed his murder when I was 17. He was executed when I was 52. That's not justice. And
No,
so
it's not.
we need to make sure that
Yeah.
we have the ability to advocate and allow the justice system to work for victims and not be an hindrance.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to
Excellent.
close out by letting our viewers know that you are rerunning for Attorney General.
Yeah, my wife says I need a job, so we will do that. But no, very
And,
grateful and very, very much looking forward to being able to share that with
obviously,
people.
we're going to let our viewers know we're putting up the site for your campaign.
Thank you.
And then this way they can contact the campaign, find out anything they need to know. Because we let them know, don't look at a 30-second commercial, look at, talk to the people and find out what they're all about.
Yeah, wonderful advice. Thank
Look
you
at
very
the
much.
actions, not the words.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
Thank
okay.
you.
And we appreciate you being with us. And
Yeah.
just remember that election's around the corner. It's your duty to do your homework. Do not just go in there and look for a name that you think is familiar. Choose the right way and choose the right candidates. And we'll be right back right after this.